President Xi Jinping announces 8 major measures to support high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. Locally, the government is going to ban a company involved in a number of serious accidents from construction works. And Joe Biden arrives in Israel after an explosion at a Gaza hospital killed at least 500 people. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. The third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation opened in Beijing today. In his keynote speech, President Xi Jinping emphasized the importance of win-win cooperation and rejected decoupling, whilst rolling out 8 major plans to support high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. The opening ceremony was held at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing this morning. President Xi Jinping led other state leaders into the venue. Delivering his keynote speech, Xi hailed the achievements of the Belt and Road Initiative since it was launched 10 years ago.
Our achievements in the past decade are truly remarkable, and there is so much we can draw from them. We have learned that humankind is a community with a shared future. China can only do well when the world is doing well. When China does well, the world will get even better.
Xi added win-win cooperation is the only way to succeed. He added treating other countries' development and economic success as a threat and risk will not benefit any country.
Belt and Road cooperation is based on the belief that flame runs high when everyone adds wood to the fire, and that mutual support can get us far. Ideological confrontation, geopolitical rivalry, and bloc politics are not a choice for us. What we stand against are unilateral sanctions, economic coercion, and decoupling and supply chain disruption.
About 4,000 representatives from 140 countries and dozens of international corporations participated in today's forum. Xi also announced 8 major steps that China will take to support high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. That includes setting up a 350 billion yuan financing window, while an additional 80 billion yuan will be injected into the Silk Road Fund. China will remove all restrictions on foreign investment access in the manufacturing sector. It will promote green development and deepen cooperation in areas such as green infrastructure, energy and transportation. It will also support artificial intelligence and young scientists from other countries to work on short-term programs in China. China will work with international organizations to carry out research and training on promoting integrity in Belt and Road cooperation. In addition, China will work with its BRI partner countries to strengthen the building of multilateral cooperation platforms covering finance, think tanks, media, and other fields. President Xi held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin for about an hour following today's opening ceremony. Xi told Putin that he's glad to see the Chinese and Russian governments are making every effort to implement the important consensus reached by the two countries' leaders. He added that political mutual trust between the two sides is continuously deepening. Earlier today, Putin delivered a speech at the opening ceremony of the Belt and Road Forum. Putin said Russia and China, like most countries in the world, share the desire for equal, mutually beneficial cooperation in order to achieve long-term economic progress and social well-being. Chief Executive John Lee, leading a delegation of 70 representatives, also attended the Belt and Road Forum today. Speaking to the press after the opening ceremony, the CE noted that among the 8 major steps President Xi has vowed to take, many are related to technology and closely linked to Hong Kong. Lee said there's a lot of room for the SAR to contribute to the Belt and Road Initiative in innovation and technological developments. He also attended another forum in the afternoon where he explained the city's advantages in cargo, transportation and trade. The government is going to ban a local construction company that has been involved in a number of serious accidents from construction works in about a month's time. Some 4,900 units at 5 private property development projects will be affected. The government today explained the reasons why the license of aggressive construction engineering will not be renewed. The company was supposed to renew its license in December last year, but a fatal accident at a work site in Yaotong last year led to vetting procedures by the contractor's registration committee.
The interviews will focus on the authorized signatories, his ability and his competence in site supervision and also in safety management provisions. During the interviews, the authorized signatory has not been able to demonstrate his ability and competence in these areas, so the application was refused.
The contractor will be banned from all projects as from November 16th, and the government says 5 private and commercial projects involving 4,900 units are affected. Among them, some 1,700 units have been sold in pre-sale purchases. Meanwhile, a crane collapse at a construction site on Anderson Road in September last year resulted in 3 deaths. That involves another contractor, Aggressive Construction Company, which belongs to the same group as the engineering company that was banned today. Authorities are still dealing with the company's license renewal.
The various approaches under all the regimes involve very serious investigation, prosecution, and other follow-up actions. So, inevitably, it may take some time, particularly investigations involving possible criminal liability. We have to be very careful. But I have to emphasize that justice will be done.
A construction contractors association said it will take several months to find a new contractor for the residential projects concerned and expects costs will go up by at least 20%. U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Israel today for a diplomatic scramble to prevent the war with Hamas from spiraling into an even larger conflict. Biden was originally scheduled to visit Jordan as well. However, his meetings with Arab leaders there were called off as he was leaving Washington in the wake of the blast that wrecked Al Ali Hospital in Gaza City. This as the United Nations Security Council is set to vote on a resolution that calls for humanitarian pauses in the conflict between Israel and Hamas to allow humanitarian aid access to the Gaza Strip. Daniel Rao reports.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met US President Joe Biden at Ben Gurion Airport after the latter arrived in Israel on Wednesday. They embraced before speeding away for hours of meetings where the US president is expected to push for allowing critical humanitarian aid to be delivered to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
Mr. Prime Minister.
In their initial bilateral meeting, Biden told Netanyahu that Washington would provide Israel with everything it needed to defend itself as it wages war against Hamas. Biden's trip to the Middle East was supposed to mark a bid to calm tensions in the region, even as he demonstrated US support for its ally, Israel. But after the hospital blast in Gaza City on Tuesday, Jordan cancelled the crucial second half of Biden's itinerary, a planned summit in Amman with the leaders of Jordan, Egypt and the Palestinian Authority to shore up aid to Gaza and avert wider war. The blast unleashed new fury on streets across the Middle East. Clashes continued between Jordanian security forces and thousands of angry demonstrators near the Israeli embassy in Amman in the early hours of Wednesday. The security forces used tear gas to disperse the demonstrators trying to reach the embassy building. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council will vote on Wednesday on a Brazilian drafted resolution that calls for humanitarian pauses in the conflict to allow humanitarian aid access to the Gaza Strip. The 15-member council had initially been due to vote on Monday on the Brazilian draft. However, it was postponed 24 hours to allow more time to negotiate. The Brazilian draft is essentially a more detailed version of a Russian text that failed to pass in a vote on Monday, except it specifically condemns the terrorist attacks by Hamas. The draft text also urges Israel, without naming it, to rescind its order for Gaza civilians to move to the south of the Palestinian enclave. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres spoke at the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing about the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and condemned the strike on the hospital in Gaza.
I am horrified by the hundreds of people killed at Al-Ahli Hospital this same day in Gaza by a strike that I strongly condemned earlier today. I call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to provide sufficient time and space to help realize my two appeals and to ease the epic human suffering we are witnessing. Too many lives and the fate of the entire region hang on the balance. May the spirit of this meeting help those that need to find peace.
Daniel, TV News.
Still ahead on tonight's news. LegCo passes a bill on the regulation of disposable plastic products. A sharp increase in the hijacking of social media accounts by scammers. And the Pentagon releases new pictures of intercepts of US warplanes by Chinese aircraft. Welcome back to TVB News. The Legislative Council has passed a bill on the regulation of disposable plastic products. The first phase of the policy will be implemented in April next year. A number of lawmakers voiced their support for the regulation, while others said they are concerned about whether it will be possible to find substitutes for plastic products. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Over the course of the pandemic, many residents resorted to takeaway services for their meals. Since returning to normalcy, many people still chose to stay with the takeaway option. But starting on the 22nd of April next year, the government will initiate the first phase of the policy regulating plastic products. The second phase is set to take place in 2025. This first phase will include a ban on the sale or provision of polystyrene products as well as disposable plastic tableware such as straws, knives, and forks to takeout customers. Regarding the second phase of the regulations, authorities plan to implement a blanket ban on all disposable plastic tableware. There will also be a two-phase ban on the sale of other plastic products, with the first phase of this ban including cotton swabs and umbrella bags. Hotels are also no longer permitted to freely provide plastic-handled toothbrushes, combs, and bottled water. The second phase is set to take place in 2025, and regulations extending to plastic tablecloths and dental floss. Opinions are divided among lawmakers. Lawmaker Vincent Cheng said Hong Kong is behind other countries in the global trend to reduce the use of plastics, and that the city really needs to catch up. But lawmaker Yu Pak Leung voices concern about the lack of suitable substitutes for plastic water bottles. He added the lack of free plastic products in hotel rooms could seriously damage the image of tourism in Hong Kong. Once implemented, government personnel will inspect retail businesses and restaurants on whether the policies are followed. Authorities said they will provide warnings in the first 2 months of the implementation of the regulations, while taking more serious action targeting black spots afterwards. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Criminals have reportedly been hijacking other people's social media accounts and using them to scam their relatives and friends out of money. Police found a sharp increase in the number of such cases in September over August. Police said there were 1,200 scam cases of this kind last month, compared with just over 100 the previous month, involving a total of almost $24 million. The largest case saw the victim lose $1 million. 96% of the cases involved WhatsApp accounts, with Telegram and other platforms making up the rest. A then student who was shot and wounded by police during a National Day protest 4 years ago was sentenced to 42 months in prison after pleading guilty to rioting and attempting to pervert the course of justice. 22-year-old Zhang Chi-kin admitted to participating in rioting on October 1, 2019 in several areas of Chunwan, including Hoi Pa Street, Tai Ho Road and Haute Square. He also admitted to assaulting a police station sergeant, and he was shot in the chest by the police. Zhang earlier jumped bail and went into hiding. He was caught by police in July last year. A man was found standing dangerously on top of a boom truck and caused a disturbance in Mongkok this morning. The incident lasted for 2 hours until he was finally subdued by the police. The man was seen carrying a suspected metal pipe and occasionally used it to hit his head and the vehicle he was standing on. Armed officers later approached the man, with the individual attempting to wave the metal object at them. The man jumped to the ground himself afterwards and was subdued by the force. The driver of the truck said the man suddenly climbed on top of his vehicle at around 9 this morning. The section of Argyle Street leading to Tai Kok Tsui was cordoned off throughout the period. The man was sent to Kwangwa Hospital for treatment. The U.S. Biden administration said it plans to halt shipments to China of more advanced artificial intelligence chips designed by NVIDIA and others. The rules restrict a broader swathe of advanced chips and chip-making tools to a greater number of countries, including Iran and Russia, and blacklist Chinese chip designers Moore, Threads, and Byron. U.S. Commerce Department Secretary Gina Raimondo said the new measures came to hamper China's military development by closing loopholes in regulations released last October and will probably be updated at least annually. She said the goal is to limit China's access to advanced semiconductors that could fuel breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and sophisticated computers that are critical to military applications. Raimondo claimed the move's aim is not to hurt Beijing economically. In a statement, NVIDIA said it complies with regulations and does not expect a near-term meaningful impact on its financial results. The Pentagon has released footage of some of the more than 180 intercepts of U.S. warplanes by Chinese aircraft that have occurred in the past 2 years. This is more than the total amount over the previous decade and part of a trend U.S. military officials call concerning. The photos and videos were released in advance of a soon-to-be-issued annual report by the Pentagon on China's military power and the security threats it may pose to partners in the Indo-Pacific. The Pentagon has tried for years to posture itself to be ready for a potential conflict with Beijing over Taiwan. That's the news. Thanks for watching.